Michael. I'm 45, married with 2 kids. My wife and I make about $130,000 a year combined, and we've been saving of retirement. But I'm worried we're not on track. I've got $180,000 in my 401k, $40,000 in IRA, and we've got $10,000 in a brokerage account. We're trying to save for our kids' college too, and that's eating up a lot of our budget. My wife wants to retire at 60, but I don't know if that's realistic. We're also paying a mortgage on a house with $200,000 left at 4% interest. Should we be putting more into retirement accounts or focus on college savings and mortgage?
Wow, that's a lot, Michael. I totally get it. Wow. Okay. Well, let's break this down. So, 45 years old, married, you got the kids going on, and you're worried. You've got a good income. You and your wife are both hustling out there and working and making a decent living, and I love that. And you're actually saving for retirement. But I heard you say that you're worried you're not on track. Well, first off, let's stop just for a second. Let's just put the brakes on this whole thing right now. I appreciate the call so much, but I think people really need to hear the truth. At 45 years old, I was Googling some stuff, ChatGPT, while you were talking, and NerdWallet, Vanguard, says the average 55 to 64-year-old has an average of $271,000 saved for retirement, with the median of $95,000. Bankrate said 55 to 64. It gave the exact same number in Cliplander magazine, said the average right now in 2025 is $238,000. And I believe you said you had $180,000 in your 401 and an IRA, and you've got $10,000 in savings or a brokerage account, so that's $190,000. You didn't mention what you've already saved in other accounts, but do you realize you're almost ahead of people that are 10 years farther in this journey than you? You're right there with them. You're 10 years advanced. Now, that may not be comforting because you may want a different retirement than that. But I want you to know you're not nearly as bad as you think you are. And this is so cool. I hear this all the time where people just don't think they're keeping up with the Joneses. Remember, when you post things on Facebook, it's called Facebook Happy, or it's Facebook's version of living large. It's not always the truth, though, is it? Those couples that only show, who puts their dark moments on Facebook? Nobody does. Hey, here's our dream vacation. We decided we were going to go camping because we don't have any money and we're eating hot dogs, et cetera, et cetera. You don't see those vacations, but we should, because those vacations can empower you to have a better lifestyle one day in the future. And let me tell you the vacations your kids are going to remember the most. The ones you didn't spend any money on. But everybody wants to post the Disney, the Universal, all the big stuff we did. Because remember, we're all Facebook happy. So here's what's really going on. You've got a lot of stuff broken down into this one call. But I want you to think about this. First off, your kids. Trying to save for kids' college. That's admirable. I hear this all the time. There's a reason when the plane has a malfunction, they tell you to put the mask on yourself first and your kids second. Well, when it comes to retirement, I want you to put the mask on you and your wife first and kids second. So here's what I mean by that. Everybody wants to save in the 529 plans for their children, but at what cost? So we've got a fully funded education for them, and then one day you're going to be a burden to your kids? Remember, they didn't ask to be born. You chose to have children, and they're one of the greatest blessings in life. But being a burden to them one day in retirement, let me tell you a deal breaker. You want to join Alloy Wealth and be a client with us? If you think it's okay to be a burden to your kids, I think we're going to take a hard pass. I'm just telling you. I just don't think you're a good fit for us. Because if anything, I never want to be a burden to my 3 children. And I'm sure you feel exactly the same way. So here's the thing. For most families, for a lot of families, they're funding 529s and they shouldn't be. What they should be doing is helping their kids get straight A's and get scholarships. Help them with their homework. Help them with extracurricular activities. But let's go ahead and make sure we put the mask on ourselves first up front. Ourselves, so we're never a burden to our children. So I'm not telling you can't do both, but I would be taking a hard look at what comes first. Let's make sure we've got you and your wife on track for a solid retirement. And let's teach the children why we're doing this. The younger they are, the easier it is for them to learn. But no matter, regardless of the age of those kids, let them know while you may not be funding their education, but you're going to help them with their education. And explain it to them, because one day, most likely, they're going to have to make the similar decisions that you're making. So why not teach them how those decisions are made? Now, let's talk about where we're saving the money. Have we talked to your HR, you know, the lovely HR department, any HR workers? I'm not talking about your HR department. I'm sure yours is excellent. But there are some HR departments that aren't as friendly, but guess what? We still need to call them. Why? Because we need to see if your company is currently offering a Roth 401, because it may be appropriate in your plan to put some money in a Roth 401 and some money in the traditional 401, so we can start building a true tax diversified plan for you and your wife's retirement. Ooh, that's a crazy idea. What about HSA plans? Have we saved any money there? That could become important in retirement to a smaller amount. Do we still have any debt that we're taking? Now, I noticed you said you're paying a mortgage, but I'm not as concerned about the mortgage. Why? Because most likely you said you took it a few years ago, about 5 years. You probably got a rate that is crazy good compared to what they are right now. So I may not be concerned with it. And is it a house we can live in? Does it fit in our budget? So let's not be crazy about the house right this minute. Let's just pay the minimum on it while we work on establishing the right plan for yourselves. One of the questions I'd have to ask also, and you didn't talk about it, but do you have a funded emergency fund? So if something happened to your job, do you have 3 to 6 months? And it's always this vague number, 3 to 6 months. I want you to think of it this way. I don't know what you do for a career, but let's say you're a nurse, Michael. Guess what? Unless you do something wrong, you could leave that nursing job tomorrow, the hospital could close, and it's been my reflection, my logic that you could probably get that same job back at another hospital when? About 20 minutes later. So you could have a smaller emergency fund. Maybe you're in IT. It's been my experience that people in IT, sometimes they got to go get a couple of certificates before they could even take the new IT job. So that might be more like 6 months or 8 months. Understand the type of career you have and determine the proper amount. When I say emergency fund, this is hard-earned cash setting in a high interest yield savings account, most likely not found at your local bank, but an online bank. You can still find rates in the 3s, upper 3s, maybe even 4 on an off chance. But let's have it liquid and available to us, 3 to 6 months. Let's use that as an average. Then let's make sure we're tracking where every single dollar goes. Is there any subscription money coming out for Hulu, Amazon, this, that, the other, things that we actually could do without to create extra cash flow in the house? Let's look at that. And then let's come up with a way to put a confident financial future in place for both you and your wife. But I got to tell you, on the onset, you're super concerned, and I appreciate that, but you're probably doing way better than you think. And with a little tune-ups, I think you could be even headed to a much more confident financial future. Hey, hit the like and subscribe button if you like things like this, because I want to do it for you again. Thanks, and stay tuned.